We previously closed with Abraham making a covenant with Abimelech, the king of the Canaanite country around there. And so when he made that deal, closing it finally with 7 female sheep. It was an ingenious move, if you recall, because these 7 sheep would probably give birth to more sheep and would cause double, triple, 7 times, underlining, this is the well that Abraham built. Don't you forget it. Weird, isn't it? It's amazing, very ingenious. But because he closed it with 7 sheep, he called the place where he was at Beersheba. Let's read that, and then we'll pick it apart. And we close that chapter today, well, with Genesis 21, 31 to 34. Therefore, Abraham called that place Beersheba, because there they swore an oath, both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. Now, isn't it curious? Now, you probably didn't know. I didn't know either before I started studying for this, that in Hebrew the same word is used for the number 7 and oath, like a vow, an oath. So Beersheba means both well of the oath and well of the 7. Yeah, at Beersheba there is a well. Now 7, as a number, had always been set apart. There were 7 days at creation, 7 days in a week. And Lamech, who fathered Noah, died at 777 years of age. But maybe this is irrelevant. God gave 7 days final notice before the flood. And now Abraham with his 7 female lambs. This doesn't even mention all the other significant 7s to come both in Genesis and the rest of the Bible. No wonder the word for 7 and solemn oath are the same. You see, 7 is a number directly associated with a perfect God. So, after the oath was ratified, Abimelech and his grand vizier, Phicol, I don't know if it's pronounced Phicol or Fishol or whatever, returned to the land of the Philistines. And that was the Gaza Strip. We know it as the Gaza Strip today. Then Abraham did something remarkable that we wouldn't notice upon reading through normally in verse 33. Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. Now this is Lord, Yahweh, or Jehovah. I don't know the exact pronunciation, and most of us don't. because the Israelis never really, well, they pronounce it when they said I am, right? So when I read this, I couldn't figure out if there was a connection or why this was included. Well, I really wanted to know. I'm always curious about silly stuff. And then I read in the Jewish publication Society Old Testament. Yeah, there was an Old Testament Judaica put out. And it's remarkable how close it is to the authorized King James Version. But here I was reading. It's an old direct English translation from the Masoretic Hebrew version. And this is what it says in verse 33. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. Again, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. The Oriental tamarisk tree, I did my homework, or grove, characteristically grew to a massive height and furnished a wide shade. The planting of this long-lived tree with its hard wood and its long, narrow, thickly clustered evergreen leaves was to be a good representation of the ever-enduring grace, of the faithful covenant, of the everlasting Lord Jehovah El Olam. Now the chapter closes with a mention that Abraham lived among the Philistines for a long time more. Now around Beersheba, the land belonged to Abraham. Here, in the middle of Philistine idolatry, was an oasis where people worshipped the one true God around the well of Beersheba, around the tamarisk tree. I've been thinking about that, and I've been thinking about my own home. You see, I need to ask you the same question. When people visit us in our homes, do they find an oasis of God's influence, prayer, peace, and wisdom? I think I've said it before, and I need to repeat it. We, I'm including myself, as Christians, need to be the wisest people on the face of this earth. People should be able to come up to us and ask us, what do you suppose is the right thing to do? And we should be having the answers. So I'll ask it again. When people visit us in our homes, do they find an oasis of God's influence, prayer, peace, and wisdom? You know, they should.